Hey guys, welcome back to Official Bravo Nation. We are kicking off season 2, episode 1 with the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. This is season 14, episode 1, and the summary says, Erica reinvents her home and herself. Garcelle takes on new roles. Kyle navigates life post-separation. Dorit and PK are separating, and the women wear their bizarre dresses to Sutton's surrealist ball. Okay, so we kick off the episode with Sutton introducing us to Jennifer Tilly. Now, I'm going to age myself here. I'm a child of the 80s and 90s. And I remember Jennifer Tilly in this movie called He's My Girl when I was a kid. It used to come on HBO all the time. And me and my cousins and my sister and brother, we used to watch it all the time. And of course, everyone knows her as Tiffany, Chucky's crazy girlfriend. But the episode starts off with her and Sutton in Jennifer's kitchen. And Sutton is someone who I like sometimes and sometimes I don't. But I love that she owned up to being a shitty friend to Kyle last season, because she really was. Kyle was going through a lot. Most importantly, the end of her 30-year marriage. And Sutton, she just wasn't supportive. And it's nice that she owned up to her end of it. She said she took Kyle out to lunch and they made up, which is really nice. And Sutton tells Jennifer that she wants to throw a surrealism ball. I don't know what surrealism is. I Googled, I read the definition, and I still am a little bit confused about it. But I think it's like exaggeration of fashion, I guess. But Sutton wants to bring them back to the trip last season that they took in Spain. And it has something to do with Merce and someone named Dolly. I have no idea. I'm not a fashion gal. And then we go to the Pacific Design Center and we see Erica pulling up. She looks absolutely stunning in yellow. And she meets Dorit at this furniture store and they're going to help pick out new furniture for Erica's apartment. She wants a new start and give all the furniture she has now in her house. It's from her old house that she shared with Tom. So she wants a fresh new start. And then Dorit drops a bomb. She says that her and PK are separating, which we know in real life now, but at the time, that's new information, I think. But I just found Erica's emotion interesting. Not that I'm questioning her emotion, because she is a Cancer, so I'm not surprised that she's empathetic. But that was shocking to me that she shed tears for Dorit and PK, but she did. And I'm not surprised that PK and Dorit are separating. Last season was rough. Watching their relationship last season with the counselor, and she had PTSD from the break-in, and PK, he just didn't seem interested in working through it. Especially, he's like British, so he probably doesn't believe in therapy or believe that is self-indulgent or something. But it's interesting to me about PK and Dorit that since they've been on the show in season 7, we've heard numerous stories about their life not being authentic. Like, they're presenting this image for the public that isn't real. Like, they move house. I think they've moved to like 3 or 4 houses since she's been on the show, maybe more. And I just saw a story this week that they are 4 months behind on their mortgage. And like, the cars aren't real. There's nothing wrong with that because I'm not rich. But there is something wrong if you're presenting yourself as having this luxurious lifestyle and it's not true. That's the issue here. And that's what everybody has been saying about Dorit and PK. Even Jeff Lewis, last season 13 reunion, Dorit said PK had moved into a hotel to sort himself out or whatever. But Jeff Lewis said that wasn't true. I don't know how reliable of a source Jeff Lewis is, but he said that PK has been living in a hotel for years. And that is the issue, presenting your life to the audience as something that it isn't. And you guys aren't living apart, or I don't know, but it just screams inauthentic. And that's the issue that I have with Dorit. And you can tell that she was threatened by Bravo execs. You can tell that they told her, bring something this season or we're going to demote you to a friend of, or we're going to put you on pause, because her energy is just different. She was going to save her job at all costs, including turning on her friend Kyle, who has been super supportive, which really pisses me off, but I will get to more of that. But speaking of Kyle, we go to Kyle's house. I am a Kyle Richards stan. Yes, I am biased. I'm sorry to tell you, but yes, I am Team Kyle all the way. And we see Kyle with Portia. Portia is so cute. I can't believe she's almost an adult. I think she's like 16 now and driving. She's such a contrast from season 1 Portia when she was a baby. But yes, Kyle has become more independent. She doesn't know how to work the technology in her house because she's used to having Mauricio there to do it. But, she's becoming more independent and she's figuring it all out. And Erica comes over, and Dorit also told Erica, don't tell Kyle about her and PK separating, as if Kyle cares and is going to lose sleep because she didn't know a piece of gossip about PK and Dorit. But Erica comes over, and you can see these split scenes where Dorit is talking to Erica about Kyle, and Kyle is talking to Erica about Dorit, and Dorit calls Kyle manipulative, which is just, I want Dorit to explain that to me, because what does Kyle gain from being friends with Dorit? Dorit has gained a lot being friends with Kyle. It's actually kept her on this show, because the truth is, Dorit, season 7, her first season, she gave. I'm not going to lie, she did give, but she hasn't given anything since. I mean, nothing. And she's been on this show, and I believe that she has been kept on this show because Kyle probably put in a good word for her. And I just don't understand the manipulative part, because what does Kyle gain from being friends with Dorit? What does she do for Kyle? What does being friends with Dorit do for Kyle's life? I can't see anything, but I can tell you a list of things that Dorit gains from being Kyle Richards' friend. And the worst part for me is Dorit showing the text at the reunion last season. You just don't do that. No matter what happens, you do not show a friend's private text or a former friend's private text. You don't do it. And I don't have any issue with her showing it to Erica or even telling the audience a summary of what was said in the text. But she showed the camera the entire text message. And on the after show, she says she does not regret it. She stands by it, which is just so foul. I really hope Kyle, I've heard that they've made up since, but I hope Kyle realizes that she is to never be trusted again. And then we go to Garcelle. Garcelle is in Atlanta. She's filming one of her Lifetime movies. She always has a movie on Lifetime, Black Girl Missing. It's like a series, so she's doing one of those movies again. And she's there with her son, Oliver, her oldest son. Oliver, I was wondering, is that a tattoo under his eye or is that a birthmark? I'm not sure. But I found it interesting that her son, they call him OJ. OJ Simpson ruined that name for me. I would call him Little J or something. I would not call any person in my family OJ. Every time I hear that name, I just picture O.J. Simpson. But that's her grandson's name. But Oliver, he had a lot of drama, I think, was it last season or season before, with his ex-wife. And I think it was Raquel from Vanderpump Rules. And apparently they were creeping around. But Garcelle, she wants him. He has a new girlfriend, Shantae. And Garcelle wants him to, take things slow. Don't rush into another marriage. And I agree with her about that. But yes, that's what Garcelle, she never really has much going on. So I'm not surprised she's showing us, which I guess is impressive. She's a woman in her late 50s. I just Googled her because I wanted to know her age. I didn't realize that she was almost 60 years old, but she is. And, it is, she looks great. Now, her storyline is always boring to me. She doesn't give much to the show. But it is impressive that a woman of her age is still, making her mark in the business. And she's able to produce movies. And, she has her own production company. Which, congratulations to her. Good for you, Garcelle. And then we see PK and Dorit's separation announcement, and we see a montage of all the women reacting to it. And Garcelle points out that none of them are married. And I think it's just a reflection of society. I think it's 50 or 60% of all marriages end in divorce. And people just don't stay together like they used to. Back in the day, our great grandparents and grandparents used to stay together forever, and they would be miserable, and they would be living. You go to your grandparents' house and grandpa had his own room, and they kind of lived like siblings, but they stayed married no matter what. And people, we don't have to do that anymore. I feel like if your marriage, if it's run its course, it's run its course, and you should leave it, and you don't have to stay in a miserable marriage because of some traditional society standard that just doesn't work anymore. And we see Dorit smoking a cigarette in her car. I've seen Dorit smoking in tabloid pictures throughout the years. And for some reason, a lot of people on social media are loving it. I didn't know it was cool to smoke cigarettes again. I find that interesting that people think that that's iconic, that she's smoking a cigarette in her car. But she's on her way to see Kathy, which is also interesting. But what I like about this scene is Kathy asks some really good questions. She goes there. She asks Dorit if her and PK are still having sex. And simultaneously, we see Mauricio and PK meeting up at a little cafe, and they are talking about the separation also at the same time as Dorit and Kathy are talking about it. And PK and Dorit both say they're not telling the kids that, they know their kids better than anybody, and they're just not going to bring it up. I guess it'll just come out eventually. I don't know how that works. I believe they're not going to tell the kids because the kids already know, because they haven't been living in the same house for years. But I digress. But the way Dorit worded it to Kathy, it sounded like the separation was PK's idea and not Dorit's, because that's what I was assuming, that this was Dorit's idea that they separate. But I don't think it was. I think it was PK's decision that they separate, because Dorit was like, we could have worked this out, but with PK, everything is just black or white. So that is very interesting to me, that PK was the one who ended it and wanted to separate. PK, he also looks sad in this scene. He admits to being an alcoholic, and Dorit is calling him an alcoholic, but she's saying it so harshly. I understand they're separated and there's probably anger there, and he wouldn't compromise and wanted to separate. So I can understand her anger or frustration in her relationship and having to deal with a husband who's an alcoholic. But to me, she's kind of like running him down in a way that she needs to be careful, because her kids are going to see this one day. And PK, he just seems sad. Him and Mauricio together, and Mauricio is giving him advice about how to navigate a public separation, because of course he's been through it and he's still going through it with Kyle. But yeah, this PK and Dorit separation is supposed to be the story of the season. It's pretty boring, and it reflects that in the ratings. Unfortunately, it was the lowest rated episode of the entire 14 years of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. So it's kind of a flop. That whole PK Dorit carrying the season, yeah, it's flopping. It's not working, baby. And then we go to the women getting ready for Sutton's Surrealism Ball. And Sutton, she has antlers. I didn't know what to expect, but the decor of the party, it kind of reminds me of Alice in Wonderland. But Sutton has antlers on her head in the black dress. Jennifer Tilly is dressed like a swan. She looks cute. And then Dorit shows up in plastic. She has a big plastic black disc on the top of her head. And Sutton says, it's not surrealism, it's giving modern. So she totally missed the theme of the party. And then we meet Bozoma St. John. First of all, she gets out the car and she looks stunning. She has this white dress with these white roses, and the contrast of the white on her brown skin looks absolutely stunning. But I had to Google her. She is Ghanaian American. Her parents are these very educated immigrants from Ghana. Boz is an American, but she grew up in Nairobi, in Connecticut, in Colorado. And she is also very well educated. She worked for Endeavor, Apple, Netflix, Uber. So, she's a hardworking, educated woman. She's also a widow. She lost her husband to cancer, and she has a 15-year-old daughter. She and Dorit hit it off instantly. Her and Sutton, they've known each other from running in the same circles in Beverly Hills. But Bose and Dorit meet. Bose says she can tell if she likes someone right away, and she liked Dorit instantly, which is interesting because I don't think that's ever happened on this show. Usually when there's a new housewife, they always clash with Dorit. Like Teddy, Sutton, Garcelle. Every time a new housewife came in, they always, got into it with Dorit. So this is the first time in the history of the show that someone met Dorit and instantly liked her, because no one else has. Anyway, Garcelle shows up, and I don't like her dress. The headpiece is beautiful, but the white dress is not fitted. It looks like it's too big on her. It's not help. It makes her look bigger than she is. It's kind of like a cape or a white bedspread. It's just not working for me. And there's this really awkward moment between Dorit and Garcelle, because the last time they saw each other was at the reunion when Garcelle said Dorit faked her robbery. So they have an issue. But Kyle and Erica show up, and Kyle looks like Sophia. Kyle always looks like Alexia to me, but the way she's done up for the Surrealism Ball, the makeup, the hair, she's given Sophia Umansky. And Erica looks beautiful as always. Erica always looks good. And so Garcelle, Erica, and Kyle, they sit down, they talk. And Kyle talks about, first of all, she won't say Morgan Wade's name. I guess Morgan, the attention drove her insane. And she doesn't want anything to do with the show. She doesn't want to be mentioned on it. She didn't appreciate it. So Kyle is respecting her wishes and not mentioning her. But of course, Bravo does not care about that. They'll keep showing the same flashback for the next 50 years. And so we see the scene with when Morgan was on the show last season. But Kyle says they are not together. And that for the first time in her life, she did question her sexuality, which is her own private business that she doesn't have to explain to anyone, and that she was figuring it out for herself because that had never come up in her life, and that she wanted to explain to her daughters, who had been seeing all the rumors all over the place about her and Morgan, and that her daughters were supportive, and that made her, proud of the women that she raised, that they, they're open-minded and they support her no matter what. And so that was nice to hear. But yes, Kyle is single. She's still technically married to Mauricio, but her and Morgan are not in a relationship, and Mauricio moved out. So, she's single and she's still figuring it all out. And while Erica and Garcelle and Kyle are sitting at the table, you can see desperate Dorit lurking in the background, itching to get in the shot. She has to earn that paycheck because she knows she's going to be a friend of next season if she doesn't. It's so pathetic. The thirst is real. And she is going to fight with Kyle, and she is going to please the Vanderpuppets and have them say, oh my God, Dorit is so iconic. Season 7, Dorit is back. Because let's be honest, Dorit hasn't given us anything since season 7. And the funniest thing is that this was supposed to be Dorit's big episode, and it was the lowest rated episode in the history of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Congratulations, Dorit, you played yourself. You sold your friend out. You dogged your husband and the father of your children out. For what? For some clout on Twitter? I hope it was worth it to you, and it won't last. But good luck. The only people who are cheering you on, they only cheer you on because they're obsessed with Kyle. That's why. Because you're going after Kyle. The Vanderpuppets don't like her because they still blame her for LVP leaving. So they'll cheer anybody on who goes after Kyle. But I promise you, Kyle Richards will be standing tall when this is all said and done. And Dorit, I hope it was worth it because you actually accomplished nothing. You really didn't. Sorry. And the episode ends just like that. There's no resolution. So it's like a to be continued. We get no previews for next week. So I guess next week we'll start off with Kyle and Dorit having their talk at the table. But this was a really excellent premiere episode. Like I said, it was the lowest rated ever, which I find hilarious. But it was a really, really good start. And I feel like the season is going to be good. I'm looking forward to the rest of the episodes. And I'm looking forward to cheering on my girl, Kyle Richards. Thanks for listening, guys. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.